Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Tyler Jeffrey, aka Viso Horny, and I'm in Estelí, Nicaragua, at NACSA, and I'm learning how to make a cigar from start to finish from hand. And in this video, you're going to see me bunch and put the wrapper on, put the cap on with a ton of help. But this kind of gives you an idea. It's really tricky. Like right here, I'm lining up the filler tobacco. It's got a base leaf and then I believe 3 other filler leaves, and you're carefully putting it in there, kind of folding it into it. And it's tricky because, you want the cigar to be consistent, and you have to place the cigar, the tobacco in the cigar, same way every single time. And, it's kind of crazy to think about it, how much stuff could vary, how much stuff could change. So right now I'm doing the break. This is called the break. So you break, you make the cigar, and then, depending on how long you want the cigar, you break it off, and then you redistribute it within the blend. And this is where you can screw up a blend. This is where consistency matters, because when you redistribute that tobacco, if you put the tips, on one side, or the front of the cigar, you put the tips in the second part of the cigar, it could drastically affect the strength and the flavor of the cigar. And then right now I'm putting I had this one has a double binder. And, so the 2 leaves were already in the Lieberman. And then, I put the bunch in the Lieberman machine, and then I redistributed some more of the break to kind of fill in the bunch to give it more of a consistent, it's filled consistent throughout the cigar, and not just like, hey, the front half is compact with tobacco and the back half is light. So you're trying to make the cigar even. And, that's why they have production guys, roaming the floor, and then they're checking the weight of the cigar, because the key is consistency. The whole thing about blending a cigar is you don't come down to Nicaragua one time and you blend the cigar. Cigars are constantly being blended. Crops change. 1 year, a thin Viso could be a Ligero, a thick Seco could be a thin Viso. So you're doing all that right there. I just cut the excess off. No, I'm not cutting it to shape. I'm not cutting it to the size. The roller will cut it to size. I'm just cutting the tip off, that isn't full tobacco. Now, right now, we're going to put, the wrapper on. So I am just wetting the, block steel on it, and, the water on here is going to help, make the wrapper wet and make it easier to roll. So this one right here is the Ecuadorian shade, Connecticut. So it's a Connecticut seed grown in Ecuador under shade. Now, technically with Ecuador, they have a lot of cloud coverage, so they don't really need the cheesecloth like they do in Connecticut. The clouds give it enough, protection from the sun. So this is a thin leaf. You got to be careful. You got to wet it. I believe I tear it. But when you're putting the water on it, on the bench, and then you're putting the wrapper on there, you really get to see the veins in the cigar. And then you got to make sure you're putting the top of the leaf on the top. You want the prettier side of the leaf, on the top of the cigar, and the uglier side facing the binder. And then right now you're cutting it kind of round, so it easily, see, look, I tear right there. So it easily fits around the wrapper. You want it to be round, like cigars round, cylinder. And, I simply was not pushing the chaveta down enough. That's a really sharp thing. And I'm being kind of like careful, but yeah, I didn't push it down enough. And then right here, it's kind of cut off a little bit, but you start in the corner And you can put a little glue down, and then you can put the tip of it on there, and then you're going to start rolling the bunch, and you're going to carefully do it. So, like, I'm doing it really slow. You're kind of holding it there in place so it doesn't move, and then you're slowly kind of tucking it in. And it's really careful. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. It's kind of crazy to think about the steps it takes for a cigar to be made and for somebody to get into the hand of the consumer. They say 300 people touch it from seed to the end consumer. And it's a really cool process, and it really makes you appreciate the work that comes in the cigar making. But yeah, I'm just slowly putting the wrapper on. You can see that little tear there, but it gets covered up by the rest of the wrapper. I end up putting a Ecuadorian Habano wrapper on a different bunch, and that one is easier. The Habano's thicker, and it has more give than this fragile Connecticut shade wrapper. And this is all part of my journey. I have a little cigar brand called Viso Horny, and I come out with these little runs. I go to different factories and I learn their blending style, and kind of it's all about learning to me, So right here is actually me with that Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. So this is a different bunch. This is a different cigar. Right now I'm smoothing it out. I'm rolling it. I'm stretching the wrapper. And yeah, I'm stretching it out right now. I'm putting a little bit of glue on the tip there, so when I do put it on there, it kind of sticks. And then, she's a really patient person. And you kind of feel bad because, they get paid based on their cigars they make. So hopefully, they didn't doctor pay for helping me out here, or not doctor pay, but hopefully she gets credit for, because she probably could have put wrappers on 10 cigars in the time I put one on here. And yeah, like I said, this is a different cigar, but I didn't have video of me kind of doing the cap. So the cap is tricky. And, right now she's going to kind of take over and kind of show me. You put the glue on there and you want to fold it around 3 times and it gives it a triple cap. And this one it's not round. It doesn't have a shoulder. It's kind of like a flat cap. And, yeah, here we go. A lot of help here, but we're trying to get that cap on. Then that little machine up there is called the Machina, the steel thing. You'll see me use it later, and I cut the end tip of the cigar off, and that little tip is called the boquilla. And the boquilla, some people cut and then they'll put it in mixed fillers, but that's the tip of the cigar. That's good tobacco. So then she's just showing me how she does it, and then you cut the end there, and then now you're gonna put the cap on, so you get more wrapper tobacco. And then you use a chupeta to kind of flat it. So this had the flat cap, kind of like the Roma Crap and the Neanderthal or the CAO flat line, but. And then, like, I'm totally messing it up. She's showing me you kind of like twist it like that. It's like a steel thing, bevel at the end that's really sharp. And it's taken me a while to kind of figure it out. And then you want to cut it so it fits the cap. And you put your little finger there and you put the cap on. So, and then when you're cutting it, you want to cut between the veins on the leaf. And it's really easy to see where the veins are. So like I said, this is my first time doing this. So it's rough, it's ugly, but, I did that. I bunched it and put the cap on. So you can kind of see the veins through there. Like I'm cut through the veins there and pushing down, and it's who would have known putting the cap on? So it's like I have here trying to put the cap on, it doesn't fit. It's too small. So it's really fun, man, and it's interesting, and the more you come down here, the more you learn, and you start putting pieces together. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you watched the whole video. I sped it up by 2 times, but thanks, guys.